What is your personal favorite part of the game?
For me, the level with the level on the like small lake.
Have we seen it?
Yeah, it was one before the cemetery.
Yeah. So the one with the first time you encountered the door with 3 locks?
Yes, the level you were playing yesterday.
Yeah, that was really nicely done.
And on that level, I did something like when you first get to the door that lead you to the large pool with water. When you finish the first fight before going up, it depends where you stand on the arena. In that place, the enemies will spawn. It was I just wanted to try how would it work, so that if you get on the right top corner, the enemies will spawn around you. If you got to the left down corner, then they will be also around you. So I was trying things out then.
I don't know if you guys ever ran into this problem when you're playing the game or building the game actually. I noticed something when I first tried to play this game. I used to have a really bad keyboard, so I couldn't do any of the combinations like WW and right mouse button, and my keyboard couldn't do quick press. It was a really bad keyboard. And believe me, having a new keyboard right now, I have a new keyboard for like the past 2 weeks. It makes all the difference in the world.
I remember on playtests we had one problem. One of my friends who was testing the game, he did something strange and he pushed the A and D button in such a way that he blocked all the input. So the keyboard stopped working at all. And he was just pushing it like asynchronous or something like this, and he just blocked all the moves. And we were like trying to debug it for 3 months. Yeah, seriously, and it was like only one person.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes one small thing can cause a lot of trouble. Did you guys have a lot of problem with bugs in development?
I don't think that there were more bugs than in any other game. I even think that there were less bugs.
Right now, it's on screen. We have a fortune cookie that says some mistakes are too fun to make only once.
Yep.
So speaking of bugs,
Also, we have a great community for the game, and people are sending us if they have any problems. They're always sending us things with description what happens, and I'm always trying to help them. And we had loads of patches to the game. I think that even if there may be some minor bugs in the game, but it pretty much should be flawless now.
no, I mean, you know why I asked you, because you have the advantage of having your own game engine. You said that you guys spent a lot of time building levels and testing them and iterating on them. So I was curious, like when you had an almost complete build, that if you still had, surprises in terms of bugs and things like that. But I think that's to be expected with any game, really. I mean, it's a complex piece of software that needs to work together.
And especially with the PC, because you cannot test each and every setup of the hardware. It's like impossible. You got tens of thousands of motherboards and several hundred kinds of processors and loads of different video cards from different creators, like you got MSI, you got Asus, you got Gigabyte, and each of the cards is different.
Now, I don't know if you can share any input on this, but do you feel that because the architecture is always stable and the same, that developing for consoles is a bit easier in terms of making the game stable, I mean?
I think that it's for consoles it's always easier because you've got a closed development environment. The consoles won't get more RAM or less RAM. They won't change the CPUs inside. The consoles are always the same. So it's you got the thing and it won't change. In PC, when you add additional RAM or remove RAM, the game will run differently. If you put the game on SSD, it will run differently. And on the other hand, if you have even some antivirus software can cause bugs in the game.
Did you guys ever try to work with the previous, like the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3?
We had hard reset on Xbox 360, but even it was the Roadhog was running on 360, but there was too little memory to get the textures in.
Yeah, yeah, I read that about a lot of other games when they, try to go to the consoles. They had to limit the number of enemies. I think I don't remember which game did that first. I think I read somewhere that, for example, Half-Life couldn't be ported to the PlayStation 3 because of the really complex open levels it had. And they had a lot of problem for a very long time to get that game to work. And the PlayStation 3 also had the Cell processor, which was like something completely different from PC.
Yep.
How have you found developing for the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One? Is it? I mean, they keep saying that they have done a lot of work behind the scenes to make development easier for developers.
This thing is toxic.
Would you agree with that, or?
I'm not a programmer really, but from what I talked to the guys, they were really happy with the amount of tools they got, and the hardware itself. It was from what I had from guys talking, it's really resembles a lot a PC, so it's easier.
Yeah, that's that's in line with what a lot of other people are saying about this current. Well, they're not new anymore. The current generation of consoles. Now, speaking of current generation, we are right now talking about a first-person shooter on a live stream. Live streaming is now part of the functionality of the console. Both consoles have built-in functionality. YouTube has just announced that they're going to focus on live streaming seriously. Are you guys do you guys watch a lot of live streams yourselves? And have you maybe brought some changes to how you go about building your games based on the fact that they will be live streamed?
To say the truth, we didn't really think about this. It was we never thought about streaming the game, and some of us watch live streams, but mostly we watch League of Legends and all the other stuff, but not really FPS games.
There aren't any temples around here.
Yeah, well,
how are we gonna find the Whisperer?
we the GOG.com live stream channel is built around the idea of live streaming, like not necessarily only story-driven games, but we don't do any competitive stuff. Like generally speaking, we always focus on games that we like. For example, I have two series, and in one of them I'm playing System Shock 2. So that's an old game, but a lot of people maybe have never seen it before and would be interested in seeing it again, or seeing it for the first time and learning about it. And I get what you're what you're saying. I don't watch a lot of competitive live streaming, but I was surprised to read recently that Amazon, who have bought Twitch, they also have game development now. They have the Amazon Game Studios, and I don't know, they are working with some companies, and they've announced that they are going to implement live streaming functionality into some of the games that they're working on, so native live streaming. You won't need additional software or something. For example, I don't know if you know the game Nosgoth.
Yep.
Nosgoth.
I'm a big fan of the Legacy of Kain.
Nosgoth has so you can live stream to Twitch directly from within the game.
Okay.
It's not perfect. I've tested it a little bit. It's not perfect. It's not as good as broadcasting with a dedicated piece of software, but the functionality is getting there. So is getting built in. So I was wondering, you know, if you guys have any plans or have ever thought about what impact live streaming would have on your games.
We haven't considered it to you know,
Because just like I said at the earlier, Shadow Warrior 2 co-op, you can bet that we will be fighting over that game to live stream it.
I hope so.
For me, like what you guys announced about Shadow Warrior 2, where it's not necessarily two players doing the exact same thing together, but it's one map, one large area, and both players doing their own thing, both players being able to develop separately, both players being able to enjoy the story at the same time. That sounds like something that I would call, you know, quality cooperative gameplay. You know, consistent, quality, and meaningful. Not just something that's thrown in for the sake of it. And I think co-op is, for me, more interesting than doing competitive because, you know, you get to also enjoy a story with someone.
Yeah, Vlad, I don't know if you noticed, but when we are doing something at Flying Wild Hog, we want to do it good, and not to, you know, bring something like, sorry for the word, half-assed.
Yeah.
It's like we decided to have this katana and cutting system in Shadow Warrior 1. We wanted to make it as best as it could be.
Yeah, and
to bring the most fun.
I'm surprised by how well this works, because there are other games which have swords, but it's really difficult to use them because you have like no idea
Where
how
it will hit.
Yeah, where it will hit, how far the enemies will be, things like that. And I've read that it's really difficult to do swords, and you guys managed to do it really well. And I'm really excited about the number of melee weapons that you're adding for Shadow Warrior 2.
I hope you will like them. It's not only, as you saw, a katana, but you will have many different ones. Some of them work differently, cut differently.
I don't know if there's a link. If you guys type !game in chat, I think there should be a link to Shadow Warrior 2 gameplay from E3. And in one of those segments, the player is using some triple-bladed claw weapons that look like, you know, the claw. And the guys keep saying, "Oh, Wolverine's claws," but I kept thinking of Shredder from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
It's more like Shredder.
Yeah, yeah.
If you, Vlad, don't mind, I can send the link on the chat.
No, of course not.
Okay, give me a second.
You know, one thing that I find really funny, and I always end up doing it by mistake, but every time I do it, it puts a smile on my face. Lo Wang, when you press reload, he cleans the blade of the katana.
Yep.
But in one moment yesterday, he was filled with blood himself, but he made sure the blade was nice and clean. Filled, covered. Yeah, I don't know my English. Sometimes it fluctuates in quality. Yeah, so I don't know. It's like really strange for me to play a game that is so focused just on gameplay, but not to find it boring. I mean, there are games which I would, you know, go in, play like a couple of hours, and then my mind would wander, and I would be thinking about, oh, what should I do now? Shadow Warriors is like completely engrossing and entertaining for me.
We wanted to change the pacing so that, you know, you've got like 5 minutes of intensive gameplay, then you have some exploration, then you have 10 minutes of intensive gameplay, and then you can go back and look for secrets. On this level, we'll see something at the end.
One thing that we talked about again before the live stream, you guys managed to implement really well the concept of the player never standing still and always moving around the map, not just in one direction. So backpedaling or going just forward or taking cover or things like that. You always have your player moving around the map, looking for ways to attack the enemy from the left, from the right. How hard was it to balance the level design for that?
Oh, it's rather not level design balancing, but the combat balancing. Because first of all, we had to create a blueprint for a level. So the level was created in in white boxes, and it was only the route the player will take on the level, and then we put all the gameplay in. So we were constantly changing it. That if I created a combat like this, an encounter, it was like I had 3 enemies patrolling the path, and then after you killed them, I spawned another wave. And sometimes I did 5 waves, but this was too much. And sometimes I did 1 wave, that was too little. And we always ask each other at the office, can you play my level? What do you think? Is this too much? Is this too little? Should I put more enemies in? Should I subtract some enemies? So it's like teamwork.
And that's interesting that you... I mean, I read a lot about developers having difficulties adapting the level to the gameplay, but you guys have adapted the gameplay and the level together, so that's a lot of work.
I have to say I'm really happy how the game was received, and whoa, really thought that it will be... people would be complaining, but seriously. I didn't expect that they would like it so much.
Yeah, there have been like the only complaints I read online will definitely be taken care of by Shadow Warrior 2.
Yep.
A lot of people said that they wanted the levels to be, a big wider.
Open spaces.
So that's the only complaints that I read. So I was also surprised to, when there's a developer doing things on an engine that not a lot of other games are using, and which is, maybe newer technology compared to, like, for example, Unreal has been around for a very long time. Those guys have a lot of close connections with the hardware people from NVIDIA, from AMD. So when someone comes with a brand new engine, you can expect there to be some hiccups. But I didn't read anything negative about Shadow Warrior, oh, it doesn't run well, it's freezing up, or things like that.
We are always trying to polish our games, and just 2 months ago we have released a patch 1.50 that has optimized the game to 64-bit systems and DirectX 11, so the game runs even faster now.
Yeah.
And it's available to download on GOG.
Yeah,